It's finally time to focus on the college football playoff semifinal. No more talking about transfer portal news. No more talking about transfer portal rumors. We get to actually talk about college football and the game that is being played on the field on today's video. This is the Oregon Football Report. I am your host, Will Ortner, and I am fired up that the Ducks are the underdog going into this Peach Bowl game. I am fired up that everyone thinks that Indiana can come away with a victory. I've been listening to Bryce Betcher's comments to Danny Cannell basically since the first of this year, every single day, getting jacked up because they want their get back. I want our get back. We all want our get back against the Indiana Hoosiers. Ducks aren't going to overlook them this time around. If you want the Ducks to beat the Indiana Hoosiers, come on in and like the video. Don't jinx it. Don't leave anything up to chance. I think this game is for the national championship. I'm not saying that the teams that are going to be playing later on, Miami or Ole Miss, whoever wins that, I'm not saying they're not a quality opponent. But I would be shocked to say that the winner of this game did not win the national title. So come on in, hit that thumbs up button. Some key injuries that we need to look at: Evan Stewart and Jordon Davison. Now, we all kind of knew what the deal was going to be with Evan Stewart, but the Jordon Davison injury news really came as a shock to a lot of us when Aaron Fentress put out his tweet that ended up being confirmed. The freshman running back is going to miss this game, has a broken clavicle, and I think I speak for a lot of Oregon Duck fans when I say this is a bigger loss than most people realize, because when you have a three-headed running back kind of system that the Ducks have, usually it's 1A, 1B, 1C. And that is, to a degree, what has been happening with Davison, Hill, and Whittington. But what I will say, as the season has come along, Davison has clearly risen, in my opinion, to that running back one role. And you're going to play a team in Indiana that is not afraid to run downhill and really bang bodies. What does Davison do best? He runs through opponents' arm tackles. I would have loved to have seen him in this game, and it is so unfortunate that he is not going to be able to go. I feel like every single week I bring up Evan Stewart and talk about the potential for him to come in and play for the Oregon Ducks, and every week I kind of unfortunately get let down. Evan Stewart is out. He will not play in this game, and unfortunately, I do think it's time to just Evan Stewart will not be playing this year for the Oregon Ducks. He will be coming back the next season to play for the Ducks. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, but this does seem like it's time to stop beating this dead horse that Evan Stewart will not be playing. When we look at the key injury for the Indiana Hoosiers, Stephen Daly, he was one of the top tacklers for this team. Did a great job of really getting after the quarterback. A solid player with maybe the freakiest of injuries that I've ever heard of. Celebrating with the fans after winning the Big Ten championship, and then he ends up hurting himself. Like, what are the odds of that? It is just so unfortunate. I feel really bad for the guy, and at this point, I do feel bad for the Indiana Hoosiers. Hopefully, hey, look, you want to play some of the best teams when they are at their strongest, and unfortunately, the Ducks are not going to be able to do that against the Indiana Hoosiers. And those things just, sometimes they end up happening. Make sure that you hit that sub button. We are on the road to 3K subscribers. Only need 755 more. What do you get when you hit that sub button? You get Oregon football content throughout the year of 2026. And we will be live for this game. So make sure that you hit that sub button so you are alerted when we go live. You can hang out with myself and Searle. We're going to have a grand old time rooting on the Oregon Ducks. Now, we're going to dive into the matchup to watch, and I think it's pretty simple. We need to watch this offensive line for the Oregon Ducks against the defensive front seven for the Indiana Hoosiers. The offensive line did not play well against the Hoosiers in that first matchup. I frankly think that they overlooked them, and we saw a lot of miscues from the Ducks. That cannot happen if they are going to beat this Indiana Hoosiers team this time. Can't let Dante Moore get cold feet. When you look at the offensive line struggles, not only were they giving up sacks in the backfield, 6 of them, by the way, worst day that they had on the year, but they were also giving up a lot of tackles for loss in the backfield as well. It felt like Indiana was playing on the other side of the field. Now, The offensive line is going to be massive in this game. If the Ducks O-line has a good game, I think Oregon will win, and we will be talking about a national championship potential victory coming in the next game. If the offensive line for the Ducks plays poorly, well, then the Ducks are going to be in a very tough position, and I don't see how they win this game. You only have Hill and Whittington, it looks like, although Jay Harris, it does sound like he could end up playing in this game. You don't have maybe your main running back. You have your other two-headed monster. You need to be able to open up holes for that running game to get going. If this rushing attack can get going, then Indiana will not be able to bring as much pressure against Dante Moore, allowing him to feel more comfortable back in the pocket and find more open wide receivers. This offensive line has to get that ground game going between Whittington, between Hill, and if Jay Harris does end up going with Jay Harris as well, so that life can be easier on Dante Moore so that passing game can get going as well. I think that the Ducks are going to come away with a victory. That tells me that I think the offensive line is going to play really well in this game. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? Will the Ducks beat the Hoosiers? Let me know down below in the comment section. I better see a lot more yeses than I better see no's. Now, we're going to dive into my players to watch in this matchup, and we got a couple of guys on the offensive side as well as a couple of guys on the defensive side of the football. The main player to watch, of course, is going to be quarterback Dante Moore. It does feel like this game is a battle between Moore and Mendoza for that number 1 overall pick. You are starting to see more and more teams and mock drafts come out saying that Dante Moore would be the number 1 pick in this draft, and you can see why. Super high completion percentage, throwing for a lot of touchdowns, not too many interceptions. The yardage is great. He can make all the throws. He can do things that just frankly no one else in college football right now can do from the quarterback position. If Dante Moore has a good game, Dante Moore could easily leapfrog Mendoza to be the number 1 overall draft pick, and more importantly, he can lead this Oregon football team to a victory. We need to have a big game from Moore. Next player to watch, running back Noah Whittington. With Jordon Davison being hurt, it's going to look like a Noah Whittington supreme performance on Friday night. Why do I say that? Because he has to. He's the senior leader. He's been in the system for quite some time. Now, he has the most amount of rushing yards on this team. Look for Whittington to step up in this matchup. Between him and Hill, he can be more of the power back. Although, again, if Harris is there, look for Harris to kind of fill into that low red zone and short yardage spot. Whittington has to have a big game. You need your strong and star players to come up in big moments. I think Whittington can do that in this one. Next player to watch, Kenyon Sadiq. We need Sadiq to have a fantastic performance in this game. And the reasoning for that is he was not super healthy in the last matchup. Indiana is going to force Oregon to dump the ball off down low. This is where Sadiq can really make his magic be heard. Catch the football, run through a couple arm tackles, make a couple of guys miss. Shoot, he might even end up hurdling a couple of Indiana Hoosiers in this game. Sadiq has to have a masterful performance. And he already said he didn't feel healthy in the first matchup. Go and prove everyone wrong. Show everyone why you are being talked about as a top 10 pick in the National Football League, Kenyon Sadiq. Now, over to the defensive side of the football. We need to talk about Teitum Tuioti and maybe the most disruptive player that I have seen in my time of really enjoying Oregon Duck football. I don't get to count Haloti Ngata into that just because, well, I was barely a baby. I don't totally remember the greatness that was Haloti Ngata, as much as some people who might understand more who are in their mid to late 30s, 40s, and so on and so forth. Teitum Tuioti is unblockable. He is flying around all over the field. He leads the Ducks in sacks. I think he's going to get one in this one and be well over that 10-sack mark. He also does a great job of being relentless to the football. Lots of tackles for losses, lots of pass breakups. He is an energizer bunny for this team. Teitum Tuioti has to make Fernando Mendoza uncomfortable in this matchup if the Ducks are going to win this game. Last player that I want to talk about, Bear Alexander. The big fella up the middle. Interior defensive lineman bouncing back and forth between that nose tackle and D tackle role. Bear Alexander has to have a big performance in this game against the rushing attack of the Indiana Hoosiers. Washington as well, of course. But when you look at Hemby and you look at Kalon Black, that rushing attack for the Hoosiers, they want to run down your throat. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that Dylan Thieneman play over and over and over again this week where he gets ran through into the end zone. Well, you know who wouldn't get ran through? Bear Alexander. I also bet you Dylan Thieneman doesn't get ran over next time that matchup happens with Hemby. Bear Alexander and Washington, if they can play on the other side of the line of scrimmage against the Hoosiers, they are going to be able to slow down that rushing attack. Indiana wants to run the football to set up their play action pass game and to allow life to be easier on Mendoza because teams can't pin their ears back and just come. Make sure that Bear Alexander has a big game in this one, because if he does, I think the Ducks are in a prime position to come away with a victory. Did I miss a player that you are going to keep an eye on in this matchup? Let me know down below in the comment section. You saw my 5 players to watch. Maybe you think that I should add in another player. Maybe you think it should be a Bryce Betcher. Maybe you think DeCorian Moore has a big showing in this one. Let me know down below in the comment section. Lastly, I want to get into my score prediction for this one. Look, I'm going to take a bold stance. I think that the Ducks are going to come out on top. Is it a homer take? Maybe a little bit, but I do believe it. I think that this is going to be a rock'em sock'em type of a game. It's going to be back and forth. You have two teams that want to play really good defense and have a strong offense. Ducks come away with the victory 24-21. Make sure you hit that sub button here on the Oregon Football Report. We're going to have you covered throughout the year of 2026. Anytime there's news with the Ducks, we will have a video on it here on the channel. But more importantly, hit that sub button so you can come hang out with us before the Ducks take on the Indiana Hoosiers. We will be live an hour before kickoff on that one. So come in, hang out with Searle and I, have a grand old time, and let everybody know just how good this Oregon football team is. We are the new bloods that are about to become blue bloods. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video, and Sko Ducks!